I'd like to give a big old Bwnci bump to the lovely Christine Wickoff, Gary Shepherd, Oscar Liljaby, and Jonathan Salama. Sorry if I butchered your name, guys. I hope that sounds good to you, because thanks to your donations, I got a new mic. Ta-da! Hey people, you're right to war. I'm Bwnci and this is Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Maybe you've heard of it. In this video I'm going to be talking about the human Adept. He's one of the starter vanilla characters which we've all got as a result. But still, honestly, one of the best Adepts. No, one of the best characters in the game. So, you know, if you're starting out with us today, don't worry, you are not sunk. Let's take a look at the build I've got for the character so I can explain why. Now, these three powers individually don't do a lot of damage, I know, but when you combine them, they absolutely wreck up the place. One particularly special number for that is Singularity. The human Adept is one of two, well, if you're willing to ignore his female counterpart, one of two characters in the game with this power. And what Singularity is, if you don't know already, is a black hole that you get to chuck at the enemy, which is as cool as it sounds, because it does pick up unprotected enemies and spin them around like a record player for you, making them really easy pickings. But that's honestly not the power's greatest feature, because any enemy that waltzes into its field of effect is set up for what is known in this game as a Biotic Explosion, which is a simple combination of biotic powers which ends up creating massive area of effect damage, which is really how this character does damage. So, when it comes to building Singularity, what you obviously want to do is get those first 3 ranks so you can start tapping into the evolutions here. And then for rank 4, go with Radius. Radius extends the field to 2.03 meters, which is about the width of 2 to 3 small enemies. But effectively, it makes Singularity larger, meaning it can reach out and touch more enemies, setting up more combos for you so you can produce more damage. So that's an absolute no-brainer for the first rank of Singularity. For the next rank, I think this is a no-brainer too. I recommend you just go with the recharge speed. What I haven't mentioned about Singularity yet is that the enemies that are within its field take damage every second they're there. It's a small, negligible amount of damage, but it does help whittle them down, regardless. And if you take the lift damage evolution, all the enemies that are picked up by the power get inflicted with a secondary damage over time effect, which I'm just going to call Dot from now on, which obviously helps you kill them even quicker. But as I said earlier, the only enemies that can be picked up by Singularity are the unprotected ones, and you don't need help killing them. They go down super quick, okay? So, rather than have that negligible additional damage, you're better off just having Singularity ready to go for whenever you need it. See, once you've detonated the effect, the biotic effect to be precise, that Singularity puts on the enemy, it's gone. It doesn't matter if they waltz back into the field. The only way you can prime them for another combo, if they're still alive, is you need to chuck down another Singularity on top of them. So it's really better to just have Singularity ready to go whenever you need it. And then for the 6th evolution, I'm actually going to go against everything I just said and recommend you go with the damage. Because basically what the damage is going to do is exactly what I just said it's going to do. It's going to help you whittle down those enemies while you're doing your combos. And that's really all you're going to need. The other evolution, Detonate, is amazing though. And let's not forget, you've got 2 human Adepts. You've got a male and a female, so get your little lady out and go ahead and take Detonate on her. Because what Detonate does is trigger the explosion, so Singularity can effectively set up and detonate Biotic Explosions with this evolution. But this is only once the power's run its full course, and at this point the power lasts for 8 seconds, and basically once those 8 seconds are up, the field dies, it explodes, and that explosion triggers the Biotic Explosion then, which is awesome because it lets you essentially chain Biotic Explosions by just using each one of your powers in order. See, if you throw down Singularity, the enemy is primed, then you can hit them with Shockwave, which detonates them for the first Biotic Explosion, and then you can hit them with Warp, which sets them up for a new Biotic Explosion, and by that time it's only going to take you about 2 seconds then before Singularity dies, explodes, and triggers a second Biotic Explosion for some awesome, quick area of effect damage. but let's come back to the human male here. But you can actually trigger much stronger Biotic Explosions in roughly the same amount of time. You're probably only shaving off a second or two with that other strategy. And, you know, if you're willing to just hold on for just one more second, you can get out so much better damage. Speaking of better damage, let's look at Warp now. At first glance, this is your sort of basic Biotic projectile power. It does 75% of its listed damage on contact, and then the other 25 is sort of evenly distributed over the next 10 seconds to the enemy. The listed duration is actually for all the effects that Warp has, which are amazing. This is how you want to build the power. For rank 4, go with Detonate. Detonate's going to increase the damage and radius of your Biotic Explosions by 50%. And this is a special bonus, because it's known as a multiplicative one. Most of the bonuses in this game are additive, which basically means they add their percentage of the base or starter value of the power or weapon to the total damage. Multiplicative bonuses, however, actually take the sum total damage and then add their percentage to that. So, you know, effectively multiplying the damage if you didn't get it already. So yeah, that's amazing. On its own, nothing special, but what you'll soon see is just massive damage potential. For the next evolution, get Expose. Okay, Expose is a debuff, or at least that's what we're going to be calling it. It increases all the damage that the enemy takes after being hit with Warp by 15%. And I say all the damage because it affects both weapon and power. And again, this is essentially a multiplicative bonus too. It will multiply the sum total of all the damage that hits the enemy. So you're already really stacking up the hurt that you can do with this character. And then finally, for the last evolution, get Pierce. Pierce is going to increase that rather shitty damage that Warp does to barriers and armor specifically, but most importantly, it's going to weaken armor by an additional 25%. Now, I haven't explained exactly what armor is. It's not just a lot of health, it's a sort of special spongy kind of health, and this is going to make it less spongy. I'll explain more in the gameplay. Shockwave is your third and final power, and it's going to be your detonator. Singularity and Warp, they're your primers. They will be setting up all your combos for you, and Shockwave's going to be knocking them down. It's going to be the trigger for those Biotic Explosions that you want so badly. It's a straight shot with a lot of range of space magic, I guess. It's the best way I can describe it. It passes through all objects, which is really cool, so it will just hit the first two enemies in its path of destruction for you, potentially triggering 2 Biotic Explosions every time it's used, which is just great for you, which is why Shockwave is such an amazing detonator. If you can get it to hit reliably, and the way you can do that is by getting Radius, of course, at rank 4. This is going to, most importantly, increase its width, so it's better than just reaching your target. However, if you're on PC, what you really need to know is that Radius does the exact opposite, because it's bugged on that platform. And what it does is it completely throws off the hit detection of the power, so periodically it does no damage. So, you know, if you are on PC, you're definitely going to want some damage to make this power work. But if you're on console, definitely get Radius, because the hit detection is kind of wonky without it. It's a small bonus, but it seems to make the world of difference. And it really is worth hitting with Shockwave, because look at this, at rank 5 you've got another Detonate bonus, which is going to increase the damage of Biotic Explosions by 65%. And yes, that's another special multiplicative bonus, and this is what I'm talking about when it comes to stupid damage with these special bonuses, because you think of it this way, your Biotic Explosions hit hard anyway, and then you're going to multiply that damage by an additional 50% with Warp, and then that new damage is going to be multiplied again by an additional 65% with Shockwave. So you can just do insane damage with the Warp and Shockwave combo, and that's definitely what you're going to be wanting to hit your bosses with. And Obviously, to make sure that you can keep that combo going, you just want to go with recharge speed for your final rank of Shockwave, okay, so you can get Shockwave out as fast as you need to get it out. It's going to be the bread and butter of both of your other attacks, okay? You're going to Singularity and Shockwave, or you're going to Warp and Shockwave, and that's going to kill everything for you. Your other option, of course, at rank 6 is Lifting Shockwave, which is great because then, like your other two powers, Shockwave can both prime and detonate, because all the enemies that Shockwave lifts will be primed for a Biotic Explosion. However, just like Singularity, the only enemies that can be lifted are unprotected ones that are almost dead, and if you've used Shockwave to detonator combo recently, those things that you're lifting are probably corpses, so nah, I don't recommend it. Just stick with the recharge speed so that you've got Shockwave when you need Shockwave. Now, when it comes to your passive tree, which is your alliance training, I'm going to recommend that you just go to rank 4 and get the weapon damage. Now, you might be thinking I'm crazy. You're going, hang on, we've put all these points into our powers, why wouldn't we go with power damage? Well, like I said, these powers don't actually do a lot of damage individually. They do a lot of damage when they're combined into power combos. And power combos don't actually get stronger through power damage bonuses. They are made stronger by those special bonuses that I've been talking about and the rank of the powers used to make them. So the fact that we've got all our powers at rank 6 means that we will be making the strongest Biotic Explosions with our powers. In fact, Warp and Shockwave is the strongest Biotic Explosion a single character can make, but I'll get more into that later. What you want now is supporting damage here, so get the weapon damage bonus. Okay, this is going to increase the damage you're doing while your powers are cooling down, and then you've got enough points to get the 4th rank of fitness and get durability, because humans in this game are kind of squishy. They do go down easy, so it's good to have whatever health you can get your hands on. That'll be your build anyway, so let's take a look at your loadout now. For your weapon, you're going to want something that's light and low maintenance. Why? Well, the lighter your weapon loadout, the bigger the power recharge bonus you score here, which is obviously going to let your powers cool down faster so you can use them more often, set up more combos effectively, and just do a lot more damage in game. So yeah, definitely want something light, go with like a SMG or a pistol, and then you want something low maintenance so that you can really focus on using those powers, and your weapon is just merely something you fire while you're waiting on them. And the Collector SMG is great for that because unlike most SMGs, it's incredibly accurate, so it requires very little skill to use. Okay, if you've got any sort of basic ability to aim in video games, you should be fine with the Collector SMG. It doesn't require any special tricks or skills to use. It's just incredibly reliable, and most importantly, it doesn't even require you to go and grab more ammo. It has a regenerating clip. So basically, as long as you don't deplete it, it won't overheat, and you can just fire forever. And if you're constantly using powers like I recommend, you're very unlikely to overheat it. Or at the very least, you're unlikely to overheat it if you got this gun at least level 5. The Collector SMG is like a good whiskey. It's amazing with age, but it's fucking horrible without it. Because literally, this gun does not have enough ammo to be useful when it's any level lower than 5, okay? And I know that sucks because it's an ultra rare and the store in this game is fucking bullshit, but well, more on that later. For now, if you are one of the lucky few with a level 5 or higher Collector SMG, equip that bad boy, slap in the magazine upgrade. That's an absolute must, because even at level 10, its ammo is non-existent without the magazine upgrade, and the high velocity barrel will give you a lot more options. For your ammo bonus, I'm going to recommend the Incendiary rounds. You get to do a lot of great stuff with these and the Human Adept. Of course, if you haven't got any Incendiary rounds yourself, Warp is a fantastic replacement. You can get a lot of weapon damage out using Biotic powers and Warp rounds. For your weapon bonus, you obviously want an SMG rail, and that's what we're using. And for your armor bonus, I'm going to highly recommend you get a Cyclonic Modulator. You probably don't want to be rolling out with 700 health and 700 barriers. If you get like a Cyclonic 4 on, you're going to be bumping up your shields to 1,450. For your gear bonus, I'm going to just recommend a bit more weapon damage. That'll sort you out. Go with something like the SMG amp. Your best alternative is probably something like the GEF scanner, which lets you see enemies through walls. Very useful when you're playing a character like the Human Adept that has attacks that go around and through objects. So yeah, that's really great for a targeting enemy on the other side. But I'll show you all that and discuss some more consumable options during the gameplay. Alright then, let's jump into this. We're going on gold against the collectors on Firebase white. I'm going to start things off by doing away with these Fisher-Price missiles. They're kind of messing with my duds. And who needs them, right? Because I'm going to show you the true power of the Human Adept just momentarily. They're some of the healthiest enemies you're ever going to encounter, the Collectors. Or at least their bosses are. Their mooks are actually surprisingly squishy. They make up for that with the damage they deal. But here's how you deal with them. Throw down a Singularity. Couple of shots for good measures, and then Shockwave is going to go ahead and get you that kill streak. Yes, that's right, people. A kill streak is like 5 kills in quick succession with none of the team going down. They may need to avoid all damage, but who cares, guys? That's crowd control for you right there. What you need to know is that... well, you don't need to know this, but you'll soon discover it when you're playing with this character, is that there's only ever 8 active enemies at once in any of the waves you play. And this Singularity Shockwave combo can hit them all. Hit them all with, the power combo damage, the real damage that this character does. Because Singularity, as I said, primes every enemy it comes into contact with. And Shockwave will then detonate the first 2 enemies it comes into contact with, because I think I said contact with twice there, which might sound awkward. No, because Shockwave is special with its area of effect damage, as in it doesn't do it simultaneously among the enemy. It is actually done individually to each target it touches. So it works as 2 projectiles and allows for 2 separate power combos. And your power combos can hit up to 4 enemies each. So, with 2 Biotic Explosions, that's 2 4s, that's 8 enemies, that's every single enemy possibly on the map at once being hit with your combo here. The only real thing you've got to worry about is Dutch Dastardly there. No, I'm not playing with randoms. That's actually my good buddy Myth. He's gone ahead and played the Phoenix Adept, so there's more Singularity on the field there. But he hasn't done that to gel with me. He's done that to troll with Lash. So keep an eye out for that. He slipped that abomination out of my peripheral vision and got me there. He was very proud of himself. I think he even did in Frozen Masamune, my other buddy there, who is playing the Asari Huntress. He'll do a better job of gelling with me, because he's actually working with me rather than against me. And while I'm here, let's give a good mention to my buddy J Fader 5 there, who's just got that saber kill on the Scion. Definitely the Turian soldier at work there. That's how you're going to get that gun doing what you want it to do. Right, so we're jumping into our first objective here, which is going to start throwing Praetorians at us, okay? This is why I said the Collectors are some of your healthiest enemies, because unlike the other factions, in the enemy allotment, the Collectors throw a lot of bosses at you, and their bosses have got a lot of health. What I'm going to be doing here, to help whoever's doing the objective, is I'm going to be using my incredible crowd control and damage to keep all the enemies down here on this side of the map away from where we need my teammates to be with that objective, because this is the objects objective, which means you've got to pick up this pack thing. A lot of people just call it the pizza delivery, and you've got to take that to the starting position, which in this case is LZ. And as long as I can keep all the enemies down here, they can't be up there giving my teammates any trouble. This is something you want to really learn to do as a team when you finally start to establish one. And to establish one, you guys need to start talking to each other. A lot of the randoms I play with just don't plug in their mics and they just don't communicate. This game is a lot more fun when you're communicating, okay? And then particularly because you're going to get more wins that way. These are the kind of strategies you want. You want people not crowding the guy who's trying to get the missions done, okay? Because if you crowd them, the enemy will come for all of you. The enemy know where you are all the time. They're always tracking you. So if you put all the team in the same position, all the enemy are going to be in the same position as well, and then that's just going to make your objective much harder. Unless, of course, you lash them into obscurity like that. He's not going to be a Mass Effect Andromeda. Well done, Myth. So yeah, don't crowd objectives, unless of course you're doing something like an escort and a hack, which you absolutely need to do, but that's when you can, if it ever gets too dangerous, that's when you and the team need to sort of duck out, all move together. You know, this is, like I said, these are the few exceptions where you do want to sort of crowd together. You want to get the enemy to follow you to a different place in the map, and then you want to just sort of ditch them there. Because on these objective waves, enemies spawn infinitely until the objective is done. So you might think you're clever, just getting all the kills and stuff, but if you really want to get the job done, you want to help your teammates, or at least get your teammates to help you get those objectives done as fast as possible. Because the quicker you beat them, the more money you earn, and more money means more equipment, which allows you to do some of this awesome stuff I'm showing you here. And let's talk more about that, okay? Because I've talked about the crowd control, the MOOC strategy. Let's focus on the bosses. I think I was trying to talk that until I got distracted. Yeah, boss strategy needs to change. You need to start using Warp and Shockwave against them, because all your bosses are armoured enemies, and armoured targets cannot be ragdolled. And by that I mean they can't be tossed around like that. Okay, they are just these big damage sponges, which basically serve as a distraction, because it's actually the mooks that will kill you. You really want to sort of take out the small enemies first, and then the team can focus fire on those big enemies that take some whittling down. And this is how you're going to whittle them down, because the Warp and Shockwave combo, as I explained earlier, does a crap ton of damage just because it's always multiplying. With all the bonuses we've got in it. But what you've also got to understand is that Biotic Explosions on their own actually have multipliers to barriers and armor, which is all the defenses the collector bosses have. So again, it's multiplying even more so. They're literally, this Biotic Explosion is so powerful against boss enemies. That's really what you want to get going. And then we're also rocking these incendiary rounds. Okay, the incendiary rounds are awesome for multiple reasons. The first one, and the most innocent one, is the fact that incendiary rounds set up fire explosions on enemies. The higher the level, the higher the chance of that happening. But once you set an enemy on fire and panic that enemy, if you hit them with like a Warp or Shockwave, or if you've got Detonate on your Singularity, that will detonate a tech explosion known as a fire explosion, which also does double damage against armor, so that's also great for taking out your bosses. But your weapon damage can just be crazy good with this combination, and you can't be faulted for doing it as well. It's a very innocent and very likely combination, but there's a bug in the game that you can take full advantage of, because incendiary rounds, unlike any other ammo bonus, do their damage over time rather than instantly. And obviously that would mean that you can put 1 million dot effects on a particular enemy, and that would probably just blow the processor of whatever you're running this game on. So what the developers came up with was making incendiary rounds absorb other incendiary rounds. So you know, the damage is done in over 3 seconds, distributed evenly in that time. And when you shoot another bullet, after your first bullet or whatever, that next bullet, actually its damage isn't done in the following 3 seconds. Instead, it's done in the same 3 seconds as the first bullet, but its damage is just stacked on top of the original. And so you essentially can get out your damage really quickly with incendiary rounds, so a lot quicker than you would with any other ammo type. But it gets better, because due to the fact that it distributes its damage evenly every half a second, just like Warp's damage actually gets absorbed into the incendiary rounds as well. And that may not seem like much, because as I told you earlier, Warp doesn't do a lot of damage, but Warp, fortunately, comes with a lot of multipliers of its own. See, Warp has from the start, you know, you just got rank 1 in Warp. Warp as damage has a 1.5 multiplier to armor and a 2-point multiplier to barriers. It's got a 0.5 to shields, which means it does half damage. But you know, incendiary rounds on their own actually don't do any damage to shields. But if you add Warp into the mix, they do. They start doing half damage to them. But with that Pierce evolution as well that we've got at rank 6, that adds an additional multiplier. So yes, there's 2 multipliers in can warp on its own, because then you get another 1.5 multiplier to armor and another 1.5 multiplier to barriers. And these multipliers get absorbed with the damage. Okay, so you can take all of Warp's damage, all of Incendiary Round's damage, slap it together, and then multiply it all those times so that you just do exceptional damage against your bosses. Okay, this is really how you're going to get them done, even with just like rank 4 of weapon damage. Okay. And the Collector SMG is just amazing for you in that respect, okay? Because, as I said, the damage, as you can see, is just constant, okay? That clip never stops because it regenerates. And it's regenerating constantly because I'm never depleting that clip. If you empty that magazine, there's a long cooldown animation that you really don't want anything to do with. However, if you just take a little breather, that ammo will regenerate really quickly, and you'll just be shooting forever. The trick to not depleting that clip, of course, is not holding down the trigger, because the Collector SMG actually has an amazing rate of fire, far better than what you're seeing. I'm actually tapping it repeatedly so that I don't use the full rate of fire of the gun, so I don't blow that magazine, okay, because that's the Collector SMG's biggest hindrance, okay? Its ammo is poor, piss poor, and that's why you don't want to use it at lower levels, because by the time you do decent damage to the enemy, the clip's empty, and then you're stuck doing no damage because you can't even use your powers if you want that weapon to cool down effectively. But if you are just using your powers every time they cool down, in that time that you're spawning them to do those awesome biotic explosions and stuff, you are letting the magazine regenerate, and that keeps your damage at a constant. Of course, if you are just starting out with the human adept today, your best bet's going to be the Predator. That's going to be your best bet for this character. As far as keeping your character light so he can keep his powers going and getting the best damage possible, the Predator is going to be the one you want to pick. But as soon as you start unlocking your uncommons, you'll want to switch to something like the Tempest. That's a really decent SMG. A lot of recoil in it, unlike the Collector SMG here. But you can avoid all that by just not aiming in. Just shoot from the hip. Like I've been doing a lot with the Collector SMG, I can do that because its accuracy is so good. But you will definitely want to do that with the Tempest, just so you've got more control over it. Other great uncommon would be the Raptor, actually. The Raptor is a sniper rifle, but it works like a pistol, honestly, and it's really light for a sniper rifle. You can really afford to put that on this character, especially when you've got it at level 10. And the Mattock is one of the best uncommon weapons, okay? You've got some really good damage, and just like the Raptor, if you've got a good trigger finger, you're golden with that. But as soon as you start unlocking your gold weapons, I'd probably recommend something like the Carnifex. That's a really decent damage dealer, nice and light, so it's everything you'll need to support what you're doing with your powers on this character. But also there's the Acolyte. Okay, the Acolyte is amazing. Okay, it laughs at shields, so especially when you're doing this whole Singularity strategy here, that means you're going to have every single small enemy just spinning around in it because their shields are gone. It's not very good at dealing with armor and focusing fire in that respect, but that's when you'll probably want to cart around an SMG like the Tempest or the Collector SMG in this case alongside it, okay, to get that damage done. But ultimately you can also go with a shotgun like the Piranha. Okay, it's a fully automatic shotgun that does some wicked damage, and it's super light too, so you know you've got your cooldown and everything. When you become part of the fortunate few to get some of the ultra rares, you might want to start looking into something like I don't know, the Eagle would work. Okay, the Eagle's like the worst, the worst ultra rare, but it's like a pistol SMG hybrid, so it works really well for the character because you can use it very much like how I'm using the Collector SMG, another gun with insane recoil, so you'll want to shoot that bad boy from the hip too. But better still, Paladin would be good, okay, because that's just a superior Carnifex. But that's another gun that's going to require the magazine upgrade because there's no ammo in that gun. And the Valiant, okay, that's another light sniper rifle that works very much like a pistol. And, oh, hang on, there's much better ultra rare choices now. I think about the Lancer. This came out with the latest DLC. The Lancer's amazing. It's like the Collector SMG. It really is. It's a super light assault rifle with some really nice damage. The Lancer's going to work great for this character. The Talon is amazing. The Talon's an amazing pistol, and what's also really cool about the Talon is that's got its own multipliers to shields and barriers, so that's really going to get the enemy spinning. But on that note, that reminds me, the Collector SMG, which I forgot to mention, which which is also helping out awesome damage against bosses here. And let's be honest, it's the bosses that get most of our bullets, because the mooks die super quickly with our combo. The Collector SMG has its own multiplier to armor. Okay, that's got a 1.5 multiplier to armor, and that's helping us too. But the Talon, it has it to shields and barriers, so that's really going to help with the mook just destroying all of them and completely controlling the map. And it does some super damage. That's like a pistol shotgun hybrid, so you know, it's good stuff. And then you got the Wraith. Okay, the Wraith is it's just a good shotgun. It's, really, really good damage. Really, really light. Amazing for this character. And obviously one of the best guns in the game is the Hurricane. Okay, this is it's an SMG. A lot of kick on that one is too. Most of the SMGs have a lot of recoil. You want to shoot that one from the hip, but the Hurricanes with the right mods shoots forever and does wicked damage. Okay, so those are your other weapon choices. With your ammo, I've praised incendiary rounds, mainly because it helps us in so many ways, but a more honest approach would be something like warp rounds. Okay, warp rounds just do wicked damage with biotics, because they've got something with them, I forget what it's called now, I forget what the game calls it, like a biotic effect bonus or something like that. But basically, when the enemy are primed for biotic explosions, it actually increases the damage of your warp rounds. And you know, with a character like this that can prime every enemy on the map with a single power cast, that means just you get really good damage out of it. And warp rounds will also weaken armor for you. And I haven't properly explained what armor is. Armor is a special kind of health bar, because with every shot that it takes, and this only really affects weapon damage, every shot that armor takes, some of the damage is taken off. Okay, on the highest difficulties, they take 50 points of damage off every shot. And that can be really bad for your SMGs and your assault rifles, okay, because they don't do a lot of damage per shot. They do a lot of damage very quickly. But, you know, if every shot's losing 50 points, then you're really getting no damage done whatsoever. So it's really good to have something like warp rounds that weaken armor, so that you're doing more weapon damage as a result. And you can also get the same effect with something like armor piercing and drill rounds. They also they pierce rather than weaken armor, and it works to a similar effect. As long as you're really ignoring like 45% of armor, I'm talking about adding up the percentages that you see. You're golden, really, for your weapon damage. You can afford to actually switch up. I'm using the heavy barrel on the Collector SMG here. You can switch it up for the high caliber barrel instead, because they'll actually get you more weapon damage as a result, because armor's already too weak to worry about. And cryo can do the same for you. Okay, really, what you want to focus with the ammo that you use on this guy, you want ammo that gives you good weapon damage. Okay, because like I said, this character is not about power damage. He's about weapon damage and power combos, which is why with your equipment you don't want to go with something like the power amplifier. You'd be better off with something like the power efficiency if you've gone with a heavier gun, or if your guns are on a lower level and they're heavier as a result. You know, if you haven't got the cyclonic modulator, I recommend go with something like shield power cells or the adrenaline module, because at least then, like I said, you can stay at the enemy's line of fire, so your shields can regenerate quite reliably, or you can use the adrenaline module to just get out of a bad situation and attack from a safer position. Okay, that's the better ways to survive if you haven't got the cyclonic modulator. And your other options for your gear bonus would really just get more, just go with your best weapon damage bonus for the gun you're using, or you can go with the GEF scanner, like I said, during the build section of the video. And but if you, of course, if you haven't got any of those shield bonuses I mentioned in your armor bonus slot, that the gears slot's a good place to get them. Okay, you can get your shield bonuses there. Some of the best I can think of would be something like the Stronghold package or the Survivor loadout. But yeah, that should really cover everything. I mean, there's plenty of more details about the game that have slipped through my fingers in this crazy commentary I attempted here. I'm trying to keep my eye more on the game as well, because I don't want to just be completely unrelated. I hope you guys can relate more to the experience if I'm there describing it to you as it happens. But that's our game, that's full extraction, and that's actually no deaths if you ignore the troll. So I hope you enjoyed the gameplay and the commentary, and I hope this guide was helpful for you. Before you leave, please let me know your opinion. I mean, it's only fair. I've been pouring mine down your throat for the last 3/4 of an hour. What's your favourite build for the human Adept? Did you love the storm you just saw and prefer the purple rain build? Or do you want it faster, baby, with the purple chain build? Go ahead and click on either the male or female Adept to cast your vote. Of course, you can go ahead and leave a comment on the matter, but I'd love to hear what you thought of the video. And if you went ahead and liked it, do go ahead and like it for me. You can favourite it too. That helps me out a lot. Be sure to subscribe for more. They are a coming, but if it was good for you, I hope we can do it again sometime.